Dr. Joe, so glad to have you with us. Love all the stuff you have going on. It's so awesome being connected with you here on Reinvention Daily. Everyone's favorite question right now: how have you reinvented your business?
Thank you. Thank you for having me on your show, Andrew. Um, First of all, that's a very good question. You know, the reinvention. Um, it's a great question. I suppose refocusing would be more accurate than reinventing in my case. Although inventing something to begin with, well, that does take focus, right? I digress a little. I work as a senior systems analyst and team lead at the North Carolina Department of Health and Human Services. I've been in the tech world for 30 plus years. Now, on the side, I speak at conferences, mostly technical in nature, also educational and human resources on a variety of topics. Now, most popular ones, one that deals with best practices on creating data visualizations that are as functional as they are stunning. The second one challenges people to break out of their comfort zone, blow away the status quo, and facilitate innovation in a post-COVID-19 world. We're not there yet, but I'll say more about the COVID thing in just a second. But the third one is called the madness behind the method. This one I do a compare and contrast of three methodologies: teaching, coaching, or mentoring. And it's a challenge for people to rethink how they engage in the training and retention of their employees. Now, as far as reinvention or refocusing is concerned, that's where my reference to COVID-19 comes into play. You see, I'm speaking about my speaking engagements, not my DHHS stuff. As everybody well knows, this whole pandemic thing has caused people to rethink how they handle, well, a lot of stuff, but in particular, in-person events. Now, practically all of my speaking engagements, at least the ones booked through the end of this year, have either converted to virtual or postponed into 2021, or in the case of just two events, canceled altogether. So my reinvention or refocusing has involved pivoting my way of interacting with an audience to accommodate these virtual events. See, I was an educator for 10 years prior to my entering the tech world. And, Andrew, I'm still a teacher at heart. So I tell you that both as an educator and a speaker, nothing is worth more to me than seeing the lights come on in the eyes of my audience. When I present a topic that I'm passionate about and I ignite that same passion in them, man, you cannot put a price on that. But getting that same level of engagement and interaction at a virtual conference is really challenging and sometimes even almost impossible, especially when you can't even see their faces, right? So still, there are a couple of things that have guided my reinvention process here. First of all, I've committed myself to the same level of preparation ahead of time. And when I'm on camera for these virtual events, I'm going to present with the same level of intensity, excitement, and passion as I would if I were in front of them in person on a real stage. Secondly, as time allows in whatever session where I'm speaking, talking about, again, these virtual sessions now, I put together a series of games to play at the end. It's really fun, like a competitive timed quiz, if you will, to enhance the question and answer session, wherever a question and answer session is now, that is. The questions that I've come up with in this quiz, or these quizzes, I should say, are based on what I covered in the presentation. Okay, complete with a leaderboard, the suspense of the time limit and all that, the competition. People have remarked to me afterwards that it was really a lot of fun and it helped them to remember what I spoke about. Now, all of this is because I feel the audience deserves for me to give it all I've got, whether I'm in person with them or not. They're still my audience. And they're going to come out of my session better than what they were before they came into it. Well, at least that's my goal, my commitment. Now, decades of experience as a teacher and a speaker have taught me that for a memorable experience and to ensure people retain what you've shown them, you have got to engage them and make it as interactive and interesting as possible. This whole shifting to virtual thing has made that mantra even more evident and essential than ever before. It's definitely a necessity. And necessity is the mother of invention, right? So most definitely the necessity of avoiding stagnation because of changes brought about by the fallout from the coronavirus has made this reinvention that you talk about an essential reality, not a luxury. In fact, to that point, the late David Rockefeller, he was the grandson of John D. Rockefeller. One thing he once said, he said, if necessity is the mother of invention, then discontent is the father of progress. I love it, If I'm not satisfied with the status quo, then my discontent will lead to a reinvent. And that's what I've tried to do with this reinvention thing.
Dr. Joe, I love the energy, man. I love the energy. I love all that you're talking about. And, the way you move people, I can tell. You've moved me in this short episode. And I know you can move so many other people. So I applaud you for the energy. I applaud you just for your passion behind all that you do. And it leads me to my next question is, what is the conversation that you want to start as you move forward?
The conversation I want to start. I like that question too. I'm glad you asked me that, Andrew. COVID-19 has affected us in unprecedented ways, okay? And while the situation is still evolving, almost on a daily basis, it seems. And while I'm confident that an effective vaccine will eventually be found, there may be some changes that we might have to put up with for a very long time. My message, the conversation that I want to start with people is for people to realize, don't let that fact discourage you, okay? Don't let circumstances beat you down to defeat. Don't stay rigid and inflexible in the face of change. Instead, try to be fluid, like water flowing around an outcropping of rock in a fast-moving stream. See, if I'm fluid in the face of change, especially those that are beyond my control, I don't know, like a coronavirus or something, I'm going to be flexible and better able to deal with the obstacles that change often brings. But if I stubbornly resist change and remain inflexible, okay, I'm going to be more like a piece of inflexible driftwood approaching that same outcropping of rock, but this time more likely to be dashed to pieces. Now, the conversation, the message, learn to pivot, all right? Try to adapt. Look for ways to use these circumstances as an advantage. Find an innovative solution. Focus on the positive. As for me, instead of complaining that I'm missing out on trips to almost a dozen different cities that I had planned in 2020, I'm choosing to be grateful that these virtual events have actually led to a doubling of the number of invitations that I've had to speak this year. I'm grateful also that the lack of traveling has led to my being able to spend more time with my family. And let me tell you, that is way more important to me than being in front of a crowd on a stage. I mean, by the grace of God, that's the way it should be. Okay, if you're a speaker, this is my message to you. A conversation for you is to ask you to be real with your audience, okay? Give them your very best, all right? It doesn't matter whether you are in person with them or not. They deserve better than to be subjected to this death by PowerPoint, okay? So give them something they can sink their teeth into and take back with them when they're done. Let them see that same passion for knowledge and improvement when they see you on a screen like this than they do when they see you in person on a stage. If my goal as a speaker does not include ensuring my audience is better off than they were before they heard me speak, well, then I'm wasting both my time and theirs. You know, a good speaker will know when to show up, stand up, speak up, and then shut up when he's done, okay? Yeah, everybody's better off when I don't forget that. So the conversation for everybody else in general, I'd say hang on for the ride, folks. It's been kind of tough and bumpy, and it might even get a little more so before it's over. But hey, don't lose faith, all right? With God's favor, we're going to make it through this thing. So don't get discouraged. Don't let things get you down. That's my message. That's the conversation that I want people to have.